Good morning, everyone. The Delaware County Commissioner meeting for February 26, 2018 is now in session. Would you stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. With that, let's begin. But first, I'd like to extend an apology to the people involved in the hearing last Thursday. Due to circumstances beyond my control, I was unable to attend, and everyone who came to that hearing, and we had to reschedule, I believe, for March 8th. My apologies for inconveniencing you, but I hope you understand, and I did feel like an apology was appropriate. So with that, let's move on.
Resolution number 18-181 in the matter of approving the electronic record of proceedings from regular meeting held February 22nd, 2018.
So moved.
Whoop. Second?
Second.
Okay, I'll choose. Commissioner Lewis, motion, seconded by Commissioner Benton. Discussion, vote.
Vote on motion 18-181. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution. We do not have any public comment or elected official comment today, so that brings us to item number 4, resolution number 18-182, in the matter of approving purchase orders and now certificates and payments of warrants in batch number CM APR 0223 and memo transfers in batch number MT APR 0223.
So moved.
Second?
Motion made, seconded. Discussion, vote.
Vote on motion 18-182. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number 18-183, in the matter of approving travel expense requests.
So moved. Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion, vote.
Vote on motion 18-183. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 18-184, in the matter of adoption of the Rutherford B. Hayes Building Security Policy.
So moved.
Second?
Motion made and seconded. Discussion.
Christopher Betts, Assistant Prosecuting Attorney, Delaware County Prosecuting Attorney's Office. Good morning.
Morning.
Wasn't sure what to do with that bright orb out in the
Yeah.
sky today. Wasn't sure what that was, but it was nice to see. At any rate, you have before you a security policy that was put together for the Rutherford B. Hayes building. I should note that Major Balzer with the Sheriff's Department is here, and he also participated in this process, as did Judge Himanowski with the juvenile court. This is a policy that's very similar to a policy that was just recently put in place and adopted by the judges with the Common Pleas Court for the new courthouse. But it was felt that the security policy was needed for the Hayes building. I guess I'm kind of the spokesperson for the various elected officials that have offices in that office building. This policy discusses people going through security and security checks over at the building. And provides various information about security in the building. It's been signed by and circulated to all of the elected officials that have offices in the Hayes building. And because the commissioners have, number one, own and control the building, and number two, have offices that are under the commissioners over there, including child support and job and family services, this matter is now before the commissioners, and you have a resolution to go ahead and approve this and put it in place.
You said the elected officials were asked. Was everybody supportive?
As far as I know, everybody was supported. It was circulated to them via email. I really didn't get any questions about it. I think maybe I got one at most. You asked a couple questions, but beyond that, I did not really get too many questions.
Any questions or discussion?
I know that this was drafted with the help of Major Balzer, as you mentioned, and I think it's worth giving us just the Major's background because he has special expertise
I'll allow
in this
him to
area.
go ahead and do that. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Good morning. Jeff Balzer with the Sheriff's Office. My background that I brought this from was the United States District Court for the Southern District of Ohio and the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals. Basically, when I was employed with the U.S. Marshal Service, we came up with court orders to cover all of the court facilities in the Southern District of Ohio. So when I started this process, I actually had my daughter help me out with that. She went through and retyped it for me to kind of tailor it towards Delaware County, and then I added afterwards. So my goal is just to increase the safety and that everyone knows the roles and responsibilities. We've had, obviously, security in the courthouse and in the Hayes Building for a number of years, and that's a great thing, but the roles weren't clearly defined as far as who's allowed to have a weapon in the building, what the restrictions are. So both this document and the one for Common Pleas Court clearly identify those roles.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Well, while you're there, I do have
Yes, sir.
two things. I have gone through the main entrance, and I've been told, well, you don't have to go through there since you're a commissioner. I always felt uneasy. I'm glad to see we're requiring everybody to go through there, because I can see how the people working it may not know that, and whoever's, and I think that's a good move. Do we do a good job, or will we do a good job educating the employee entrances? Theoretically, only that employee should come through that entrance. They shouldn't allow someone else come in with them. Are we going to educate the employees that they understand that?
We do, and in fact, there's actually some signs over there now, I believe. Director Brian Gallagher put some signs over there about no tailgating, and there is some education of the employees that they are not to let anyone else in the building, and it's actually spelled out in here as well.
I know it's in here, but I didn't know if the employees would get that message, so I'm glad to hear that.
They are, and you made a good point, and we noticed that over the years at the different jobs I've had, that if one person is going just bypassing security, then the public members, why do I have to go through it then? So I think it's a good example for everyone.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
I can say from working in the building over there that the signs that he's speaking about have a large football on them and say don't tailgate. And most of the instances where I've run into coming into the building at the same time as someone else, they've been very cautious about not letting someone else in.
Right.
Very good.
Yeah,
Thank
it's good to
you.
hear.
With no other discussion, vote.
Vote on motion 18-184. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Thank you.
Chris.
Thank you.
Thanks, Major.
Resolution number 18-185, in the matter of renewing the contract with Trident Security, LLC for security services for Delaware County.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion.
Good morning. Brian Gallagher, Director of Safety and Security. This is a renewal of the contract for Trident to continue security operations for another year. This is would be the second renewal of 3 renewal options.
Any questions or comments?
Yeah, I know we've had a lot of discussion offline on this
Yes, sir.
topic, and I appreciate the information you've gathered and shared. I think we're at the point where we can look at, I think Commissioner Merrill originally suggested having a rover and reducing the number of active lines all the time from 2 to 1 at the entrance.
Correct, sir.
So are we headed in that direction? Is that what is the status today, and where are we headed, do you think?
As soon as I get the word from yourselves that that's an option that we want to do, then I will start that process. Right now, it's all been informal discussions as far as that process, but as soon as I would get that word through Cy, Mike, I'll start that process.
I think just has to be an understanding that the deputy understands that when needed and when called on by, I assume, whoever's in charge down there, that he has to go down and help out. I think
Yes,
at
sir.
least I'm prepared to move forward. I can't speak for my other commissioners.
Yes, that's right.
Yes,
And at that time, we would eliminate one of these positions
Yes, sir.
at the same time.
Yes, sir.
And we've discussed this, Brian. You and I have discussed this, too. I do think it's a good idea.
Yeah, and I think at the beginning, whenever we initially looked at the structure over there, there was a lot of unknowns, and I think at the beginning it was good to have the extra security over there because of the people working in the building, the people coming in and out. That's whenever you're the most vulnerable. And now that some of the stuff's been vetted out and we understand what's going on, we know the time when people really need to come in, we understand when they're not, when court cases are, all that stuff's been worked out because before you had just the courts. Now we've got adult court services, adult parole, several other organizations that weren't in the courthouse before. And I think we have a good understanding of how the ebb and flow to where we can adjust security.
So therefore, we'd be putting an extra sheriff's deputy in the
Let's-
courthouse.
That would be a potential. Yes, ma'am.
I think I can summarize this. We have added one. Over here you had
Correct. We have.
So we
right.
have added one. We're really not taking anything away. We're removing one of them and adding a sheriff's deputy,
Correct. That would be the.
Okay.
which gives more flexibility.
Yes, sir.
Right.
So
Yes, sir.
that's one more than we had in the old courthouse.
Yes, sir. So, with the advantage of having a deputy, as I spelled out in the paper, is that they have certain authorities that Trident doesn't. So if you're just there, bringing stuff through at the entrance, you don't really need those extra authorities. But if you've got somebody that's going to rove or be up in a courtroom or something like that, having that extra authorities as well as some of the additional training that they have, is logical.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. I support it.
We just
Support it,
we
too.
wait for a resolution.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
With that vote,
Vote on motion 18-185. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
aye.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Brian,
Brian.
for your work on this.
Resolution number 18-186, in the matter of setting date and time for public hearing number 1 and public hearing number 2 for PY 2018 Community Development Block Grant Funding.
So moved.
Second?
Motion made and seconded. Discussion.
Bob Lamb, Economic Development Director for the county. Before you is a request to set the dates for hearing 1 and 2 of CDBG funds. These funds are normally used to assist communities with various projects that they are undertaking. The hearings will be held during session.
What do you think of the 2018 grants versus 2017?
The money that we should receive for the CDBG fund should be rather similar, so approximately $200,000 or so in overall funding.
Okay. Do you have some projects lined up? Or?
I don't know of any right now that is specifically requested. We do normally receive some asks for assistance on paths and other type community projects.
Okay. Could this be used for the trails?
It has to meet certain guidelines. If it does fall within that, we can use them. We have used it in the past for Galena's trail program.
We did use some of it?
Correct.
Okay. Good.
Any other questions or comments? Oh, I'm sorry.
Just one comment. Thank you for your presentation the other night when we met with Delaware City. It was
Thank you.
Quite good.
Oh, we thank you, so I'm going to thank you again.
Oh, I just realized that, too. Yeah.
I think him the next time. I thought you did a great job.
Thank you.
Is the star of the show.
I was told that I had to filibuster, so.
Tire them out.
Vote.
Vote on motion 18-186. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Thank you.
Resolution number 18-187, in the matter of accepting sanitary sewer improvements for the Glades at Highland Lake Section 2.
So moved.
Second.
You guys got to work on this.
I know. We're both jumping in.
Well, you weren't here Thursday, so I got in the routine of
I know.
What
Now
time
motioning everyone.
Okay, motion made by Mr. Benton, seconded by Commissioner Lewis. Discussion? Vote. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Commissioners, this subdivision has constructed everything in accordance with our requirements. We're recommending approval of the sewers.
Discussion? Vote.
Vote on motion 18-187. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 18-188, in the matter of approving the legal notice for the sale of real property owned by the Board of Commissioners of Delaware County, Ohio, for the old jail, 20 West Central Avenue, Delaware, Ohio, 43015.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion?
John Melvin, Director of Facilities. Per request of the board, we will put out for advertisement, see if anybody's interested in buying the old jail at 20 West Central Avenue.
It's not whether, it's how many.
See how many bids we get in. The easiest way to do it is simply just put it out for sealed bids and see if we get any interest. Just note, we have set no minimum because the board obviously has the right to reject all bids. We'll see if we get any interest.
There's some optimism on the part of the city that this will
There's
engender
optimism out there.
a lot of
Let's see if
interest.
There's optimism.
Comes true.
It's a neat location, and a great location, neat building.
Yeah,
It
it
needs
is a
work. I think
building.
everybody knows that, but
Yep.
we'll see.
Well, and this is a conversation you and I have had in the past, and it did come up in our city-county meeting, and I think it's worth, let's find out.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, we're not limited to this either, too.
Right.
So,
How do you publicize it, John?
We'll just put notice in the paper. We'll post it on our, the website. That's, meet the requirements.
I know a consideration is, depending on how this goes, we may want to engage the Finance Authority and
Sure.
use some of their tools to help sell it. If
Yeah, I mean, that may be the next step, too. I mean, if we get no bids on this time, I mean, we're not limited to, this is it, so.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
With that, any more discussion? Vote.
Vote on motion 18-188. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye. Thanks, John.
Resolution number 18-189, in the matter of approving ditch maintenance petitions and the ditch maintenance assessment for Creekside Industrial Park and Old Harbor Estates, Section 2.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Lewis, seconded by Commissioner Benton. Vote. Excuse me. Take that back. Discussion.
Good morning, Commissioners. Rob Riley, Chief Deputy Engineer. You're familiar with the Creekside Industrial Park and also Old Harbor Estates, which is a 24-lot subdivision located on South Old State Road. This resolution would place the storm sewers within those developments on the county's drainage system, and we're recommending approval.
Any questions or discussion? Vote.
Vote on motion 18-189. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number 18-190, in the matter of entering into an assignment and assumption of easements for drainage purposes between M.I. Homes of Central Ohio, LLC, and the Board of Delaware County Commissioners.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion.
This is in regards to an easement that was purchased by M.I. Homes for the Scioto Ridge subdivision off of Clarkshaw Road. The prosecutor's office has reviewed this agreement. Basically, M.I. Homes is assigning this easement to Delaware County so that we can maintain the drainage through this easement as part of the drainage maintenance program, and we're recommending approval.
Any questions or comments? Vote.
Vote on motion 18-190. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 18-191, in the matter of approving right-of-way work permit summary sheet.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion.
We had 5 permit applications. These are all typical utility installations, and we're recommending approval.
Boy, I can't wait till all this stuff is out of on that Smothers Road location.
Yes.
The worst is gone with Smothers and County Line Road because it blocks the vision of that intersection.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's great. Thank you.
Vote.
Vote on motion 18-191. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye. Thank
Rob.
you, Rob.
Resolution number 18-192, in the matter of approving supplemental appropriations and a transfer of appropriations.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion.
Good morning, Cy Kelly, Deputy Administrator. The supplemental appropriations needed to bring a contract before you next week for the architectural service for the old courthouse, and the transfer of appropriations needed to get the letter grant through their June 30th fiscal year, and I recommend your approval.
Questions or comments? Vote.
Vote on motion 18-192. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That brings us to administrator reports.
Cromer.
Yeah. Good morning, Commissioners. First thing, I know we had a really nice meeting with the city of Delaware a couple weeks back, and Tom Holman and I had scheduled a meeting last week. He had to reschedule due to some illness, so I just wanted to let you know that is moving forward, and I anticipate this week we'll get together and touch base. Also, I mentioned at the last meeting that we had a kind of a collaboration meeting with the schools with Olentangy on Friday. I thought that went very well. It was, interesting to hear, when they put 180 buses on the road every morning, and how I think their director of transportation and Rob Riley have a full-time job trying to figure out detours and road improvements and construction and stuff like that. I thought the meeting was very good. Just a couple things. I knew they were probably one of our biggest employers in the county, and they are at 2,400 employees, and they're going to be adding about 100 jobs for the new high school. I'm sure that is 100 new, plus I'm sure it'll go up as they add students. And then lastly, I attended the Delaware Now meeting on Friday, and Bob was their guest speaker about 5G network and data and how important that was going to be for economic development. I think that that'll be interesting, you know, when you see it roll out at the township level, because of the neighborhoods that we have, and all the utilities are buried and stuff like that. I think there'll be I think a social issue of coming out about, you know, what those towers look like and where they're mounted. So I think that'll be really interesting as it moves forward.
Digging required, you mean? The tower. Yeah, for either project, the data project or the...
Well, if we run new fiber, there might have to be underground construction done for the towers. What they try to do is locate them as close as they can to existing fiber lines to minimize the cost of infrastructure. The towers do require to be connected to a fiber connection to be able to have the bandwidth that it needs to carry the data.
Do you know how many townships would have that?
The townships that currently have fiber are those along our major corridors, so Orange, Liberty, Berlin, Berkshire, Concord has a little, I believe, just touching its border. I don't know about any others off the top of my head.
Okay. Thank you.
Genoa does, because it would be up against what's in Westerville. But again, I don't know how much of it is
How much of
covered.
it?
And so it's just taking it to wherever it needs to be from our major corridors. We have good connection along 23, 36, 37, and in our growth areas, but we definitely have costs that will be coming to us to get that service.
Okay. Thank you.
That's all I have.
You know, I realized when I asked Colin, I failed to introduce you guys. You think everybody knows who you are?
No.
Oh, that's right.
I'm going to make an assumption, so I'm not as bad as you guys were on the first and the second. It's literally the first time in my 3rd year as president I've ever done that. And I only thought I was going to mention Mike's name, so my apologies. And I'm not going to bother to do it this late stage in the meeting.
And I forgot that you forgot, too.
I want to ask Commissioner Benton if I remember. Commissioner Lewis, do you have anything?
Let's see. We were at regional planning, Commissioner Benton and I,
Thursday.
and Administrator Fromer, and we got through a pretty lengthy agenda.
Yeah, fairly quickly.
So
About
fairly
an hour.
quickly, though, right.
Yeah, a lot going on, as usual.
The chairman does a nice job. He really does in moving things along. They were very grateful that they had a new light for their projector. I forget what we got them, if it was a whole projector or the light. But anyway, they were very kind in thanking us for that because things were clearer. The presentation that they always have was better. So that's all I have.
Okay. Commissioner Benton.
Just a couple things. I went to the legislative update with the number of community leaders and representatives. Carfagna and Brenner were there. There's a couple interesting things that came out of it. Number one, Representative Carfagna mentioned that in the capital budget that seems to be moving forward, he thinks that the funding for a stretch of the trails is going to be included in that, the Ohio to Erie trails that's in the eastern side of the county, the gap that exists now. He thinks the funding, that was one of his recommendations. It looks like that funding will be approved. So obviously until the capital budget is finalized, that's not certain, but looks good at this point. Secondly, they talked about the election equipment. There's a bill introduced to provide, I think, $120 million of funding. The governor's office has apparently agreed to provide $100 million of funding. So they're close, and that's certainly encouraging. But it's still well short, but it's way more than what they were originally talking, which was nominal.
What's the total cost?
The total is a little over $200 million, so it's about 50%, plus or minus a little bit, which again is a huge step forward from where they were probably at 10% or 5%, but now.
I think the goal was $170 million.
Yeah, about 75–80% was what they were targeting. So anyway, they did. That's encouraging. Governor's office is willing, and they said they didn't know exactly where the money was coming from. So, but nevertheless, they've got agreement or close to agreement on the amount. Even though we need it to be more, but so we have good progress there. There's a treatment court graduation ceremony tomorrow or Wednesday for Judge Hemanowski's court, which is always, nice to attend and very rewarding. Thursday, I think Thursday we're on for our lunch. Yes. Thursday, 11:30, 12:30, or 12:30.
Oh, that's right. That's a big deal.
Yeah. So.
Employee appreciation lunch.
Yeah, the directors. Right.
And Eric?
All right.
Eric, too.
So.
You think Eric feels underappreciated?
At moments, I'm sure. Anyway, just one other thing. The Masters is in 5 weeks, so everybody has time to get their DVRs ready or get a DVR, as the case may be, if some people don't have DVRs.
Some people have them and don't know how to use them.
Well, that could be. You need training then.
Yeah, training.
That's all I got.
Training, yes.
I have several things, partially because we didn't have a meeting a week ago today because of President's Day, and then I was out last Thursday. But a week ago, Saturday, I attended in behalf of the commissioners and the county the community days for Ohio Wesleyan. I think this is my 4th year to do that, and it was well attended and extremely well attended in the exhibit area. I think they had about a dozen more exhibitors than they had in past years, and the lady who won the TV from the drawing they had, she was extremely excited. Apparently, her family had some financial issues that we learned about. She took the mic to thank everybody. She was exuberant, understating it. But it's a great event, and I would encourage everybody to keep that on their calendars, or at least think about maybe next year attending if you weren't able to attend in the past. Number 2, I received this letter from Don Chenoweth, who also happens to be in my Rotary Club, and maybe one of the reasons he sent it to me. But he's speaking very complimentary about an employee, and I'm going to read this. I think it's appropriate when we get something like this that we take a second and acknowledge the good works of our county employees. Hi, Gary. I tried to send you and the 2 other commissioners an email through the website, but it wouldn't take. It says something like URL not found in any case. I probably could have left that part out, but I want to commend Charles Jones, who may be the county dog warden, or at least an employee of that entity. This guy is incredible. He is very responsive, knows his business, acts in a great professional manner. He is the perfect representative of a civil servant and a great ambassador for the county. There is no reason to go into detail, but I had a problem with the dog in Trenton Township. Officer Jones was all over it. Both times I contacted him. You just couldn't ask for more. Great guy! Exclamation point. I have not met him in person, but the phone calls and emails have been just what you and Barb and Jeff would want them to be. Kindly let the other 2 commissioners know about this fine employee. Thanks, Don. I don't know. Again, I don't have the details of what he did either, but congrats, job well done, and I'll pass this on to HR so we can put it in his file. So, also, I attended Orange Township's meeting last Tuesday night, and a pretty long meeting that evening, and Evans Farm happily presenting that day. So, kind of got an update on where they stand. Really nothing that we haven't heard, but it was an interesting meeting. And then, was it Tuesday? You and Bob Lamb and I attended at Dawson Farms the annual ag group that I get together, and I thought that was a well-handled meeting. It was about 15, I'd say. And Bob and I kind of coordinated and orchestrated that meeting, and Mr. Leeds kind of set it up for us. And I thought it went real well. And interesting farm, and I took the tour afterwards and got some photos of those. It's also a hog farm, and they raise pigs and the hogs, and pretty impressive. I don't know if you want to add anything, Bob? Huh?
I skipped the tour of the hog farm.
And the only other thing I have, we attended the county city meeting, and there were several topics. I don't think we have time today, but maybe Thursday we just take 15 minutes and kind of go through the major topics, and because we need to give directions to people about what they should or shouldn't do, and frankly, we don't know how we view it as a group because we haven't talked about it. So without objection, we'll plan on doing that in Thursday's meeting. Take about 15 minutes. With that, I do believe we have need for executive session today.
We do. Resolution number 18-193, in the matter of adjourning into executive session for consideration of compensation of a public employee or public official to consider the purchase of property for public purposes for pending or imminent litigation, and to consider confidential information related to market plans, specifications, strategy, production techniques, trade secrets, or personal financial statements of an applicant for economic development assistance.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Vote.
Vote on motion 18-193. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
With that, we are now in executive session.
18-194, in the matter of adjourning out of executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Vote.
Vote on motion 18-194. Mr. Merrill? Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
If there is no other business to bring before us, we are adjourned.